Welcome to Engine Adventures review of the 2020 Mercedes GLS63 AMG. This is a 3-row SUV with 600 horsepower and over 600 foot-pounds of torque and ridiculously fast. 0 to 60 in like 4.2 or something like that. It is equipped with these 23-inch rims. The back brakes are a little smaller. They're still large, cross-drilled, vented, all that stuff. But look at these front calipers. I mean, those are bigger than what was on that Ram 2500 I had recently. Those are just massive and they're thick, just huge brakes. Got an airplane overhead. Hopefully that doesn't bother us too much. That emblem on the front there seems to just get bigger and bigger. It is housing electronics, of course. But this thing does have a sand mode, so we're out here at a place called Sandy Beach, and we'll spend a little bit of time in the sand with it. All right, inside this Mercedes GLS63, there are buttons everywhere for everything, and you can change what each one of these ones does and cycle through. I mean, whatever you want to do. There are a lot of options on here. If you push this one in, it goes to the individual drive mode, and then you can rotate the dial, of course, to go through these different drive modes. And you can also use this touch screen here and adjust through whatever you want. Hit the home button. And anyway, so there are so many options. I'm not going to go through everything in here just because there is a plethora of options here. There are so many different things you can do. These front seats, heated and cooled. This is the control of the passenger side seat. So if you have someone riding in this seat, you can slide the passenger front seat forward and out of the way and do whatever to make that person comfortable if you're being a chauffeur. The seats are also massaging, so if you go to the home screen and slide over here to comfort, you can do different massaging features, and much of that is controlled here. You have quick buttons so you can get to the radio or the map pretty easily. This is just to rest your hand on for the touchpad and the buttons there. Here's your driving stuff. This is a transmission to switch it into manual mode or automatic, traction control, the vehicle height, the damping on the suspension, and the exhaust note. And then up here, heated and cooled cup holders, however you want it. And so this whole metal piece in here gets hot, and it actually gets like almost too hot to touch, so that'll keep your drinks nice and warm. There's another one of those cup holders right there. Center console opens up, and not a lot of space in there. This is just a switch from USB-C to USB-A. Not a ton of room in there, but useful nonetheless. Up here, different lighting functions, and this controls the panoramic sunroof. I'll start that opening now. We can look at it in a minute. This does have the upgraded sound system, upgraded glass. It's a very expensive vehicle. Base price is like $130, and this one comes in about $150 with all the upgrades. So extra sound deadening, extra thick glass with sound deadening, both on the windshield and the side windows. And overall, just a ton of features on this. So let's climb into the second row and take a look around. Here in the second row, we have 4-zone climate control. So up there you get 2, of course, for the driver and passenger. Back here you get 2 more, and then separately controlled, so you can do the fan and all that stuff. Heated and cooled seats. You can adjust everything power, including the headrest up and down on these. The front ones do have a thigh bolster you can adjust. Back here it does not. Again, we have this button here that will allow you to move the front seat forward or back for this passenger. Inside of here is a special little treat. We have this tablet, which I've already set. Getting some serious glare because that's open. So anyway, we can close that sun blind from here. Close everything. Hopefully that will help. And there we go, it's helping a little bit there. So you can control basically everything from back here as well. You got the massaging seats, and the front ones include a heating massage, but you can turn on the seat warmers back here and get the same thing. Different settings, you can adjust all the colors of the lights here. It's blue right now. It did show up on camera a little bit, but anyway, you can adjust all that stuff. You can adjust the radio, including the volume, everything. You can do all that from back here. This tablet does pop out, so if you're riding with kids, just hit this button here and it's presented to you. And it's basically just a Samsung Galaxy tablet, but it looks like it's got a couple extra little pieces on it to work with this system. I think that's a good thing. Hopefully that means this is somewhat easily replaceable. And you just drop it back in and it grabs onto it and plugs itself back in, and now you can see it's charging again. Also, wireless charging right here and a small little cubby there. Getting into the third row isn't quite as easy, so I'm gonna do it from this side, but there's a switch here, a button. You pull it forward for a second and it looks like the door has to be open, so we'll do that. Okay, so getting into the third row, you've got this button here on the second row. Pull it forward until it starts to go, and then you can let it go, and it will actually move both this seat and that seat, so there's enough room there as needed. And then you can climb in, and as you can see, not a lot of room, but you can move these seats forward, which makes it a little bit easier. Back here you can adjust your that seat to bring it back, and the other problem is you can do it from up here on top, or just from here. So if you bring it back from there, it lets you choose your position, and that is enough room for me. And then from there the person climbs into that seat and adjusts it. 2 USB ports on this side, 2 more on that side. So you get 4 USBs in the rear seats, and overall pretty well covered. Let's go ahead and use this power button again. Push that forward. And then we can get out and we'll take a look at the very back. Back here, button's right there, and it's been struggling to open for some reason, but hit the button and lift it, comes right open. And you get all the buttons here in the back. So right here is for the third row, and you can lower with the suspension, you can lower that. In here is what appears to be a first aid kit, but it's actually a fuse block. So maybe because that's a green symbol, it means fuses and not first aid kit. Anyway, I thought that was interesting. Over here is to control the second row seats, and we'll touch that in a minute. So here in the middle, you can have a little bit more storage. There's space down there to store things. This is the sunshade. Obviously you can remove that, and it goes into these slots here, or you can move it up a row as well and put it up there. Again, let's go ahead and we'll hit the all seats, and there it goes. It's folding all of the seats at once, and you get a nice flat load floor. You can, again, like I said, you can do it just this side. Let's see if they will all fold back up, and there we go. Everything's power. All the seats move by themselves, so you don't have to adjust the seat in front to move the rear seat, and they go back to the settings they were in. The one thing that does not happen are these rear headrests do not pop back up on their own, and those are pretty hard to move, so that one is a little bit difficult. To close the rear hatch, of course, you can just hit the button. If you want to lock it, you hit this and then hit that button and it'll lock it. On the doors up here, all 4 of the doors, when you close them, all you have to do is get that little clip and it will suck those doors in for you, so you don't have the issue of partially closed doors. gonna go ahead and turn off the engine and pop the hood, which is a giant red lever here. Let's take a look. There you go. And there's your hand-built twin-turbo V8, bi-turbo as Mercedes calls it. It also has a 48-volt electric hybrid system that adds power before the turbos spool up and add boost. So you get a better low range with that, but you still feel the turbo lag, and you feel it when that boost kicks in. Kind of an interesting thing. Very well packaged. I mean, these Mercedes always look great, but what I actually like to see is the engine itself instead of plastic and possibly carbon fiber coverings. At this price range, I bet that's real carbon fiber. It does have all the driving aids, of course. So up there you see those triangles in the window. Those are the extra cameras and sensors, along with the huge emblem, and it's heated. I don't know if that'll show up on camera. It's a little dirty right now too. It's heated, so it'll clear all the snow and slush off of there. And you get a front camera on there as well. This one does have a bunch of drive modes. We tried sand mode and it lifts it up. That was a pretty fun little experience driving around in sand mode. But check out these brakes. So that is a massive brake. It's thick, it's tall. I don't know, probably a 6-piston caliper. We'll have to look that up, but massive brakes. These are 23-inch rims, so that'll add to your understanding of how big these brakes are. Runs Michelin Pilot Sport 4S's, and they are 285. It's gonna be upside down, but 285 40 R23s in the front, and 325, I believe, on the rear. 325 35 R23s. So the rears are a very wide tire. The fronts are pretty wide, I mean, by themselves, but those rears are really wide. And does have the step to get in, which is really small, and my boot doesn't fit in there real great, but that's all right. Yeah, overall, love it. Great vehicle. I haven't really had any issues with it. I'm starting to understand all the Mercedes stuff now, so all of these buttons don't scare me anymore. I understand it, I know how to work it. It was a big learning curve. This is like my 3rd or 4th Mercedes, and I'm finally getting it down. So if you own them, I'm sure it's no problem, but when you're switching cars often, it can be. But overall, great vehicle. I love it. And it doesn't get great gas mileage. I think I'm averaging like 14, 15 miles per gallon. But with the kind of power and the way we've been driving and driving in the sand and all that stuff, that's kind of expected. So, all right, here's another 0 to 60. This time standing on the throttle. 60. This thing is insane. We're cruising in comfort mode, and this thing does pretty well, so it's not bad at all when you're just driving down the highway in comfort mode. It's a little bit stiffer, I'm sure, than the other variants of this, being the AMG 63, the most aggressive sport track-worthy GLS that there is, but it does make a surprisingly big difference. You can come down here and either push this button to switch through to, if you push it, it switches to individual mode, and then if you twist it, then you can go to the different drive modes. So when you go over to Sport or Sport Plus, it makes a really big difference in the ride, makes it quite a bit stiffer. And so your options are Sport, Sport Plus, then Comfort, Individuals, however you set it, Slippery, Trail, and Sand. If you have the non-AMG versions, there is an off-road mode instead of the Sport Plus mode. And like I said, it just cruises along no problem. You don't really have to push the throttle at all. You can see I'm I'm going 75, 80 miles an hour, and you can see how much torque it has just idling. I mean, it's not idling, but I'm not in the throttle very much. Only 70 horsepower, 250 foot-pounds of torque, which is pretty awesome. So that with all that torque, you barely even have to push on the throttle at all. Of course, if you give it full throttle, it'll really give you a lot of horsepower and torque, of course. Overall, really enjoy how this thing drives. It drives incredibly well. 3-row SUVs have no business handling the way this thing does. Very similar to the Dodge Durango SRT. That one handles so well. It's got the big 6.4 liter Hemi with only 475 horsepower. This one's something 600, maybe a little more than 600. And this thing just flies. It'll just fly down the highway, no problem. So you have to watch yourself, because it's pretty easy to take off, get it going faster than you want. It's nice to just set the cruise control so you don't have to worry about that. But overall, on-road, excellent driving vehicle. It can be cool and poised and controlled when you want it to be in comfort mode, and then if you put it in Sport Plus mode, it can be super stiff, handle it extremely well, and just be a track monster for something this size. Okay, let's do a standing 0 to 60, no brakes or anything. I'm just going to switch from the brake to the gas. Here we go. It's 60. This thing pulls incredibly hard. So if you're cruising slow enough, you can see down there in the left corner, it has 2 pistons with a number 4 next to it. It will run in 4-cylinder mode. And let me grab the fuel mileage. So this thing's kind of hard to read a little bit. Hopefully you can see that. But my average from when I started at 16.8. But right now I'm cruising at about 30, and like I said, it's hard to see what exactly it is. I guess I'm about 25, and then that higher up bar there that was around 30 was on the freeway. We are on a very well maintained dirt road. There's no big potholes or anything. Going, well, actually slightly faster than I would like, but you can feel that this thing is kind of stiff over all the bumps here. It's definitely not made for off-roading. I tried the normal ride height and the higher ride height. I'm not going to go lower on the dirt road, and both of them are still pretty stiff. So anyway, I'm not even going to take it on the normal test dirt road with the big dips and potholes and all that stuff, just because I don't want to risk bottoming out, scraping the one of the splitters or something on this thing, because it has all the AMG body work on it. So basically, if you're doing off-road stuff, it's more of a slow speed off-roader. It's got huge rims with small sidewalls on the tires, and it's a really sporty vehicle. So stiff suspension and stuff like that, even in the comfort mode, it's not going to do great on roads like this. Underneath all of this plastic protection is more for cooling and airflow and dynamics. So you'll see a vent for the transmission right there. There's the transfer case, the rear diff, you'll see the fins on it for ventilation. It is a true dual exhaust system back to the muffler, where then it does combine and go out the quad exhaust tips. Due to the low clearances, really large rims, I didn't want to damage anything on this, so we played around in the sand a bit. Just listen to this V8 roar, and you can hear the blow-off valve a few times. It just sounds amazing. thanks for watching Engine Adventures review of this 2020 Mercedes GLS63 AMG. It's an amazing vehicle, just incredible all around. It does have a high price tag, coming in at a little over $150,000. But if you've got the money, this thing can't be beat. Liked what you saw, hit subscribe, ring the bell so you get notifications, and comment down below. If you didn't like it and you give me a thumbs down, be sure to comment down below as well so that I know why. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.